Sorry. So welcome out there. I just started recording and it's Saturday morning. Normally we have a show on Saturday morning where Dave Jackson comes up and can't find him today. So we're looking for where are the podcasters today? We'll see who's out there early Saturday morning. Interesting to watch Blab. Hard to tell how much it's growing and who's using it. I know that we've had really great luck this week testing it, making podcasts. In fact, while we're here, I'm going to be working on my podcasts and editing the ones that I have put up this week. I've got quite a few done on Blab. Gary Leland, Andy Sokovich, Matt Sherman are a couple of those. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go up into my Gmail account and I'm going to go ahead and log on. I use LastPass. It's really a wonderful tool. So I've got 3 Blabs out here. The most important one I need to get up right now is Paul Wright's podcast I did. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make a folder. So my folder is going to be, let's see. First thing is make the folder. You know, one thing about Blab, unless you have people ahead of time or send out an email, it takes a while to get people to find you. I imagine if you send out a blast email, you get a lot of folks. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write Paul Wright, Wright. Paul is a music producer. And in fact, I'm going to put music producer after here. From Nashville. He's a very good, very enjoyable interview I've done on Blab for. So Paul Wright, let's see. Paul Wright, he's a music producer, music executive, I guess. I learned a lot about the industry through Paul in his interview. Okay, it's amazing talking to the abyss out there. It is being recorded. So we got Paul Wright up there. I'm going to open this up. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to download the video. And I want to do it on the desktop. Where's Paul Wright right there? Looks like there's an extra space in here. Get information. So, you know, they say leadership is the second person to come on to something. Okay, there we go. It looks better. So we're going to save this under just Paul Wright podcast. And we're going to go save. So it takes a few minutes to do that. We got a couple people coming on. Hi out there. We usually have a podcasters meetup group and they didn't show up this morning. So what I'm doing is I'm editing my show. I actually have 3 shows, but I'm downloading, multitasking here. And let's see, it should be downloading this folder here. Okay, I don't know. So anyway, so going into the first thing to do in podcasting is after you record your show on Blab is you got to download the file. I download the video file and the MP3 file. And the way I do that is I just come up online and I create a folder on my desktop and I find I make a folder and I'm multitasking here. I don't know why I didn't, and go save. Come on. You guys got to be downloaded. This is a great show. There it goes. So now I'm downloading my most important file from yesterday. I'll download this MP3 too. Right click and save as. It's a pretty amazing technology, this Blab, and it's pretty easy to turn the Blab into a podcast on iTunes. So it actually, I think, is a really good way to grow a podcast, and I think it's a future. So anybody out there wants to get in and ask any questions on podcasting? Where am I? I left my my props. I have an ATR 2100. In fact, let me go. Back here. Well, here's my portable podcasting bag for this. You can see it. It's got all my field stuff when I do field podcasts. I'm this week, probably the highlight is I'll be interviewing or streaming the Attorney General of the state of Nevada, which is going to be interesting, Paul Axel. So you meet a lot of people with podcasts. Oh, there you go. Sorry about that. I didn't let you in.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sitting here waiting patiently.
Sorry about that. I'm really unorganized today. I don't have my earplugs in or anything.
Yeah, I'm not organized either. I just realized I don't have my hair isn't, but anyway.
So are you a podcaster?
Yes, and I'm on hiatus, and I need encouragement to get back in the game. And hey, Gary, and hey, Laura, and I thought that I would come and hang out with you since you were talking about where are the podcasters today. I saw that.
Oh yeah,
I saw that Dave and Jim were both out this week. I know there's a couple of meetups, and maybe
that's where I was. I was trying to figure out where's Dave and Jim this morning. So I said, where are the podcasters? So I just threw it up here if the podcasters want to come up and listen.
I know exactly what you meant.
let me tell you. Let me tell you something I did this week that is absolutely amazing, and I'm convinced that those podcasters who jump on this, and I'm going to give my credit first to Gary Leland's, positive attitude and seeing the benefit of this. I did about 5 podcasts this week, and I'll tell you what, the quality of the people I podcast with, I found on Blab, a couple of them, and the ease of making the podcast and the quality of the podcast is unbelievable. I have Gary Leland this week, Andy Selkovitz, Matt Sherman, and my latest was Paul Wright, who's a well-known producer of music in Nashville. And he had great equipment. We did an hour, and his story is amazing. So this is a huge platform for podcast, and it's pretty easy. You do this on here, you're going to get an MP3, an MP4. You just download it, and the wave looks really good. I mean, you don't need this mic. I mean, this is the only thing you need with a USB. And then I would add just a mixer. But anyway, tell us about your show.
Well, I wanted to just tell you a little bit before I get into that about Blab. And, I've been around here for, let's see, I think it's 2 months now. So, 62 days. So I came before the massive influx of marketers, and I think I probably was the first one. And podcasters came on. And the team Blab at the time, they said to me, because they're around all the time, Furkan and Sean and Brittany. And actually, I think it was Furkan I was talking to. He calls me Super Blabber. And he said that we really want to make this attractive for podcasters. And, I'm a big fan of Dave Jackson. So the first thing I said was, okay, but this is free. And I know that a lot of podcasters are going to be concerned, about free, and
monetize.
Then it was actually Furkan didn't brag to me or anything about it. I found out in another Blab from my friend Saul Fleshman, who runs Right Tag, that they have lots of money. Not, of course, you can always, when it comes to money, you can always have more. Okay.
But I could do a loan right now, so I could set up a studio or something here in Nevada, in Reno.
Oh gosh, yeah, your studio. I love the black instead of having the green behind you. You have the black that just looks like it's going off into space.
It's not much. Let's see if I can't turn around here. Look at this.
Cool.
And this is our guest bedroom.
So,
and all it is the black. It's a really inexpensive black screen.
I need something like that.
All it is, if you see here, there's a corner here. Goes like that.
No, you can't even see that it's a corner.
And then I got it down. You can see down below. All it is, it's really inexpensive to do this.
Where'd you get? What kind of cloth is that?
Yeah, I'll put it up on my podcaster's home. And the actual piece I bought, it wasn't very expensive. It's a piece of cloth from Amazon. It was easier. I tried to find a sheet around town, and Amazon was too easy. So
yeah, it is. It's too simple. And then how do you have it adhered to the wall?
I just, it's sheetrock here, and I use these white little tags like this. They're clear, and then like this. I don't need many of them.
Okay. Oh yeah, you got tags. Okay. Yeah, I have plaster.
You can cover that with a spackle in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I have plaster. This home was built back in probably the late or early 50s. So everything is plaster and lath. So I would have to come up with a different solution other than those little push pins. But I'm sure I could come up with something. I mean, I could probably hang another rod or something.
Hey, I'm going to record this today because I'm going to put this up on my Podcaster's Home YouTube channel. We're the podcaster, so we can get some. Tell us about your story. Your story is really unique. So you talk. I know I haven't got into one of the shows with the founders. I do know one of the trainers came up early on and helped me out.
Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, I do a blog, and it's basic blog tips. And for the record, because we didn't say it, my name is Eileen Smith.
Oh, Eileen, I know who you are.
Okay.
I've never seen you, but now I know who you are. Eileen.
Yes. And so a lot of people, when they see my name spelled, it looks like two L's because of the font they use, but that's another story. So anyway, it's Eileen. And so I started my YouTube channel years ago, 2009, and it's Miss Eileen Speaks.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happened back in those days, if you remember Blip.tv used to let you import your feed into iTunes. So that was my original podcast, was my YouTube videos, which are all tutorial screencasts. You know, back then I wasn't even getting on camera, and they were going up and on. So I probably didn't really have that much of an audience, but still it was a real killer when Blip shut my account down because they said I didn't have, I don't even know what they said. It doesn't matter because they're completely gone now. They don't even host, files and all that stuff. And you can't even put your podcast over there anyway. So as time went on, after listening to our friend Dave Jackson and following Ray Ortega, because actually Ray was the one I got introduced to first, and then, of course, Daniel J. Lewis, and listening to all the other podcasts about podcasting, I started back with the audio only, and I had it on, Spreaker and SoundCloud and all those other places, as well as iTunes, Stitcher, and all of that. And then because I actually have a full-time job, and
good.
With blogging, YouTubing, and podcasting, and doing this all by myself.
Is that your own business then?
Well, it's not. I guess you could say it's a business. I do some online courses now, but that was never my goal. My goal was
very good.
Hi, how you doing?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're just a little loud.
Pull back a little from your mic. You have a little bit too much.
Let me bring the gain down.
There you go.
Yeah. So,
you know what I love about podcasters is they've got great sound. So one of the rules I've made on my show for interviews is the first thing you have to do is have a good mic and good sound.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually right now I'm testing out this new device called an iRig Pro or Pre, where I'm not connected to my mixer to see how that sounds, and I can't hear myself. I can't monitor, but I need to be hooked up to hear you guys.
Oh,
hey, you guys take it over real fast. I'm gonna go get my earbuds. They're like in the other room.
Good. Yeah, I heard about that iRig. In fact, one of the guys here, I Coach Radio, whose name is Lee, he told me about it, but I have it on my wish list over on Amazon. Yeah. So this is your first time trying it?
I've tried it before, but this is my first time trying it on Blab. And so I sound good to you guys? Like I don't sound horrible or?
No, you sound fine now. You're initially, like you said, you needed to turn that gain down. Oh, yeah. He must have lost.
Oh, he jumped out.
But
so answer me this. Have you done any of your own blabs?
Many. Like I said, I've been here for 2 months. Actually, I could tell you how many recordings I have just from,
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I've been trying to record blabs with my mixer. I've been going through my mixer, my Mackie Pro FX12, and for some reason, the recorded quality of my voice is horrible, but everyone says that I sound good on the video.
So why don't you use the replays that you get from Blab?
I do use the replays, but on the replays, it sounds like I'm in a giant echo chamber.
Okay.
But when I'm recording, it doesn't sound like I'm in an echo chamber. So I'm not sure what the issue is.
I got to be honest with you. Yeah, you probably need to talk to one of these other guys because I don't do the mixer thing. And I know that there's probably a little level of complexity that adds to the whole situation.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
It's over my head.
Well, Miss Eileen, what do you use? Because your sound is very good today.
Actually,
Yeah, it is.
on that you guys mentioned, or were you actually mentioned, Bill, before I got on here, the ATR 2100.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm on right now. And I'm actually testing. I usually use the Samsung CO3U, and I actually was doing a YouTube video and I was talking about all my gear. And I thought, well, you know what? I've got the 2100. Why don't I just use it and, just to switch things up. And you guys are saying it sounds good. So maybe I made the right choice.
No, you're using the Samsung right now?
No, I'm using the ATR 2100.
Okay, and you got it some distance away from you too.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, so are you plugging that directly into your computer?
Yes. Yep. I don't have
so
any.
That's how you're getting the sound you're getting. Okay.
I don't have any. I've just plugged it right in.
I don't have anything. Just a little USB cord right here. Plug it in and just plug it. I do a podcast for some tech folks, some programmers, WordPress programmers, and I got them set up with just this, and it's amazing how well some of the sound is coming out in that show.
And that's what I was saying. I was telling people in my video about the mic because I've had it for about a year and a half, and I was like, why don't I use it? So, and I thought, let's see if anybody says, anything about my sound, and you guys are saying you guys are podcasters, so.
Well, like I said, I did 5 shows on this platform. This is, you know what? If you're going to do an interview podcast and you want call-ins or whatever you want, I don't think you can beat this platform right now for simplicity.
I don't think you can. But as I was telling Eileen, my recorded audio sounds horrible, Bill. And I emailed you about this the other day.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? Do you email me or did you put a message in on the?
I put a message on the website.
Okay, that was you. Okay, I thought I'll get back. I did.
No, you got back to me. You got back to me, but
I can't remember. I hit one thing. Yeah, I just put it real basic. So, have you tried it on Blab?
Tried what on Blab?
To record something on Blab and get the MP3 and the MP4
I have,
back?
And I've been told by everybody that goes onto my Blabs that my audio sounds great. I sound fine. But then when I get the recorded MP3 or MP4 back, it sounds like I'm in a giant echo chamber.
Well, we're going to get this. I'm going to get this one back, and I'll put this up today on on YouTube at least.
Well,
Okay.
if you're having a problem with that, you might want to try downloading the video file and then stripping the audio off.
It sounds
That's what
on the video too. I sound just as bad on
It sounds bad, yeah.
I was going to say it sounds the same. I've listened because when you get that download link, I always do it right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I click, and sometimes I forget. Did I click on the audio one or the video? Because I'm on another tab now, right? And then I'm like, did I click on that audio or the video? You can't tell the difference. So that quality, I think, is the same between the files that you're getting from Blab.
So, Robert, what are you using? Sorry. What are you using for equipment?
Right now, so I'm a little old school because I started in podcasting in 2005. So if that's considered old school, right? So I actually run.
Yes.
I have the Samson. This is the CO1, which is an XLR, and I actually run into a Zoom H4.
Yeah, nice.
And I'm running an XLR in. And the reason I do that is because when I started in podcasting, I was doing a lot of the podcasting in the field. So we would just plug in our interview mic into the H4 and record on the H4.
Okay.
And now I just use it as my interface rather than, just replace these with USB mics. The beauty of the mic that you guys have is that you have a choice of either one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using myself a Shure SM48, which is designed for the studio, which is straight XLR, and I go right into a giant mixing board. But I've been thinking about scaling down and getting the HN6 because you can do up to 6 XLRs with that.
I'm going to suspect that you probably, because Blab is so simplistic, that maybe somewhere in all of your settings of all that hardware that you have is overkill for Blab.
Yeah, I think so.
And so you may just want to pare it down to a simple, just one thing without going through the mixer If you have a USB, most podcasters always have a USB mic somewhere in their pocket.
Yeah.
Let me show you what I use. You can see. I think a picture's worth 1,000 words. If I can do
just
this.
Test it. They have a test zone here on Blab. So
okay,
they do.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So
it's still going to be public, but
Right.
people know that you're in there testing, and then you just name it. I'm doing a mic test. And
Right.
You're just testing.
You know, this is called wires out of control. But here's what I have. If you want to see firsthand, this is pretty simple. I work overseas. My real job is overseas.
Okay.
And maybe someday I'll make enough money where I don't have to go overseas. I've been told to make a digital product, so maybe I'll do that. I'm getting much better in call recorder. But this is my gift on my last deployment was my Heil PR40, which is okay. It's not that much of an improvement over the ATR 2100 though. Then this mixer, I bought this mixer. I'm not really happy with this mixer, but it's okay. I'm not going to buy another one. I have two. Little Sony would be better, but it's a USB mixer. So I go out of my Heil into, let's see, I remember this. The best thing I bought is this DBX 286S. That saves me a ton of time because of this right here in editing. I don't have to take out if there's breathing, things of that nature for me, only my guest. So that's it. I've got the 286, the mixer, and then the mic. But I'll tell you what, this has a good deep sound. I'm really contemplating going back on this shot. And by the way, I'm not trying to compete with Dave Jackson, but I've got a Silicon Valley multi-millionaire who's sort of my mentor here in Reno, Nevada. He's got an interesting story. And he told me to make a digital product with Blab this weekend that shows people how simple it is to create a podcast and get it up right away.
Sure.
So I'm really surprised that Blab isn't growing faster than it's growing.
Right, me too. I mean, and there's implications beyond podcasting too. Like, I'm a teacher in my day job, and this would be great for like getting experts into the classroom that can't make it into the classroom to like speak with students, or like if I was reviewing for a test and kids couldn't make it after school to review with me, I could hop on here with them and talk with them. So I also think there's implications beyond podcasting and beyond marketing that Blab could be used in.
Excuse me 1 second. I just wanted to say, I see that Daniel J. Lewis just came in. Daniel, maybe he can help you with the issue that you were having.
Oh, yeah.
I have some suggestions.
Yeah, Daniel J. Lewis might be able
available to jump in to answer a question about Blab recording.
I think, Eileen, you brought up no, Bill had said what I would recommend that you try, okay, because I think what's happening is there's a latency issue.
I'll pop out for Daniel, guys.
Well, thank you. Hey, Eileen, it's really nice to see you face to face.
I'm still here. I'm still here. I'll be back.
I like your little tripod in the back there.
Thank you. I had to put something.
Before you go, we got to get you up to over 100. Come on, folks. Let's get her 100.
Let's get her 100.
100. I think that, you know what? That has a little. There we go. Yeah.
People at?
She's going.
All right, no, I'll be.
Okay, come back. We'll see if the numbers are still there.
I'll
give you a couple of minutes.
There might be a
latency issue.
So why don't you just try your system microphone? Switch. Are you on a Mac?
I am on a Mac. Yeah.
Okay. Because you can just go to your system preferences now and just switch. Are you using your built-in iSight camera?
I am using my built-in iSight camera.
So just try switching in your preferences, your audio input to system, your default microphone. And then you can check back on, because this is on the record, so there'll be a replay of this, and you can listen if it makes a difference going direct. But these USB condenser mics these days are they all sound really sweet, and it may just be an over processing issue. It really is meant to kind of be so simple that once we try to sweeten it a little bit, it doesn't know what to do with it.
Right. And I think
Blab does some processing.
I think what I might need to do is either purchase an ATR 2100 and just go directly into the computer with a USB, or for Blab specifically, or like you said, maybe select instead of using my mixer as my input for my mic, use my actual computer mic.
Just go direct. Just
go direct, and I don't know how that would fix it, but
yeah, I mean, it may or may not, but certainly worth a try.
Hey guys,
Hey.
Yeah,
I have a question. I'm not a podcaster. I do social media in Orlando for one of the smaller parks, and speaking from I guess branding yourself and everything for podcasts and blogs and everything like that. You guys, that's one thing I haven't really delved into is I use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and stuff like that. But for podcasts, as far as businesses, how do you suggest to get into things like that for your brand?
That's a tough question. You guys have an answer?
Are you talking about
Robert? You've been around for a while.
Are you talking about monetizing your podcast?
Well,
get followers, build an audience, maybe.
Well, I mean, okay. I work at the Holy Land Experience in Orlando, Florida. I was an actor at the park, and I still do some shows, but I kind of got pushed into the social media. They wanted to hire, move up within, and I was the person that kind of put my name in the hat, and I fell into it. I've been doing it since April, and so I'm still learning the game as for business, and so I'm trying to, we have 78,000 followers on Facebook. So we have and Holy Land's owned by TBN, Trinity Broadcasting Network. So they have millions of people that follow them. So my question is how would you use? We already have a fan base. We already have people that follow, but I have not really looked into podcasts because I've looked at it as more of a self branding kind of thing. I haven't, but then again, I haven't really looked that much into companies and how they've used it. So
well,
what would you guys?
It's an interesting question because I think what's happened is podcasting is being used as kind of a very loose term for digital content. Okay. When podcasting started, it started as the definition was that podcasting was an automatic delivery system through RSS. Okay. So you found a podcast that you liked and you subscribed to it. And every time that podcaster would publish an episode, it would appear in iTunes automatically. Voila, there it is. You'd sync up your iPod and away you'd go. Okay. Now, we're talking about digital content. We're digital content producers. Okay. You have to decide on what the delivery method is. Okay. Is the delivery method going to be, well, I'm just going to put up, the replays of these blabs on a website, or am I going to take these, create this RSS feed, create a channel on iTunes, and have people discover you and subscribe so that you're constantly pushing content to them. Okay. You can do that with any digital content. Doesn't matter what it is. Okay. So it's really, to me, in my mind, as a podcaster is someone who's creating content on a regular basis and pushing that out through RSS. That, in my mind, is what a podcaster does. As the big picture from the 500-foot level, we are all digital content producers. How we choose to deliver that content is really the key to success. You have to find out where the audience is that's consuming this content, and then find a way to put it in places where they'll find it. So that may be your social media, that may be iTunes, it could vary.
And I think the thing is, I've been trying to figure out how to use it as an advertising tool, I think, for the business that I work for. But it seems like most of the time, like podcasting and blogs and stuff like that I've seen, like I said, have been for more self-branding as opposed to branding for a company such as mine. So that's, I guess, what I've been trying to figure out is if there's a way to use it for the benefit of my company.
Well, it's an excellent way to build a brand. That's for sure. Because the one thing that podcasting does is it builds authority.
Right.
Okay. The more you podcast about a particular niche market, the more you're perceived as an authority in that area.
Right. All right. So I just got to find my voice for it.
Right. And my second and even more important suggestion is you should concentrate on creating evergreen content. Right? Are you familiar with that term, evergreen? Okay, evergreen content is going to be fresh today. It's going to be fresh 5 years from today.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's really the key. And I know it firsthand because in 2005, my wife and I launched Wedding Podcast Network. We built a network of programming, 11 shows I think we had, all centered around couples, brides, grooms, family members who were in the process of planning a wedding. Everything that we produced, which was 90% audio, started in 2005. Delivery of video really wasn't where it is today. And then it slowly morphed. But we created evergreen content that we knew was going to be great in 2005, 2006, and then today in 2015. Now, we haven't produced a new episode since 2012. Okay, that's 3 years ago. We get anywhere between 11 and 20,000 downloads a month of our content. And we haven't produced an episode in 3 years because the content is, because, you know, think about it. Here are brides and grooms. You get engaged. All of this content is brand new to them. Doesn't matter it was produced, 10 years ago. It's still good, solid content on the best ways to plan your wedding. So that's really, you want the long tail effect. You want your content to be downloaded for years to come.
I got you.
Okay, so if you concentrate on those things, you will build an audience.
Just to answer Sean Kelly's question, I have listened to podcasts, from time to time here and there, but not. I'm getting more into it now that I am doing more social media and stuff like that, and so that's one thing that like I said, there's still a lot of things that are still new to me as far as social media. Before I got this, I was not beyond Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And now that Periscope and Blab are out, I'm getting a lot of information from a lot of people, and I love it. So,
hey Daniel, a couple other things too. I started my first podcast. I think the most important thing is if you want to do an RSS feed, just go up and there's a lot of good ones out there. There's Libsyn, go up on Libsyn, Blueberry, but for $5, start a Libsyn account. Just do a test one. I did a test one. My first one is actually still up, and I did a test, and I still have it $5. So $5, start a test. And
you said it was Libsyn?
Libsyn. Yeah, Libsyn. We'll drop in a link. Just $5. Rob Welsh, if you email him, he'll come back and help you. They'll help you set up. It's real easy. Rob Welch has got a real simple manual. The thing I see complicated today is there's 1,000 ways to do a podcast. So stick with one way. I would suggest just going up on Blab, making a recording, having a buddy on, and flipping it up on Libsyn for $5 account. Then you do your simple artwork. It's 14 by 1400. Just do something with letters in it and call it a day and get it up. And that'll get your confidence.
All right, and that makes me feel good because as far as artwork and everything, that's one reason why I kind of got pushed is because I do a little bit of graphic design on the side, and so that was one thing that they were, oh, well, that might help. So that was kind of how I fell into the position I am in.
Contact me. I'll trade you some graphic design to my little manual I'm doing. What I just said, I'm outlining to give out to somebody. So, I mean, I'll trade you some graphic design work.
Well, thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. Thanks, Robert. Eileen, it's good to see you.
Good luck with your podcast and
meet you.
Start it.
Thank you very much.
I hope that I was able to help. I'm not sure, Second Course Media. I don't have his name. But anyway, I think I got some help for him because, and this goes for anybody who doesn't realize that when you're on camera, you will have a camera icon in your address bar. Click on that camera icon to make sure that Blab is connected to the correct mic and the correct camera.
That's
okay. So now we can't hear you. Now your volume is too low. Okay. What's your name anyway, sweet?
Hey, while you guys are talking, I'm going to show you some.
How about now?
Some cam twist. Gary Leland would be proud of me right now. He's not up right now, but I should have my cam twist more information. Do you guys have cam twist on?
No, I don't. I hate
no.
Watch this. All I need to do is feedback. I haven't done this yet. I'm going to do this later today. But I'm going to put cam twist on, and all I need to do is do my output from here into my mixer, and then mixer into here, my ear. And you can hear the noise. But watch this. I'm going to show you while you guys talk. I'm going to set up something.
Here's my replacement for cam twist. ILEANE. ILEANE. Just look for ILEANE anywhere, and you'll find me.
Yeah.
I don't need.
Those
I don't need
are fireworks in Lake Tahoe this year.
Very nice.
So let me stop that.
That's pretty.
Are you playing
Okay,
that
but
through
now-
YouTube, or is that resident on your computer?
No, it's an MP4 that I put up. It hasn't been on YouTube. So it's an MP4 I just dropped right in. The other thing you can do too is on Cam Twist. I'm getting Cam Twist down. It's powerful. You just got to be careful you don't blow yourself up.
So
But let's see. Second Course Media. What's your name?
Jamie, my name's
Jamie. Okay, starting to sound a little bit better. And now it's still a little low. Try a little bit more volume.
How about now?
See that?
Yes.
Problem with Cam Twist.
Now.
Much
Yeah.
better.
Okay,
No.
that's
Hey, I'm going to come
Bill,
back. I'm
that's
going to leave.
Bill, you're blinding me. Bill, you're blinding me.
So,
One of the
I want
Yeah.
to thank you guys because
No.
I
I feel like I'm in a disco.
That's why I deleted it.
Party.
want to thank you guys because honestly,
Shit. Excuse me.
I had no idea that was setting was there in Blab,
Okay.
and
I
had
have
no
a
idea it was
Blab. I
recording
have a
my
Blab cheat
system mic.
sheet. I have a Blab cheat sheet with little tips and tricks like that. And so I'll give you the link for it. It's a
Okay.
Google Doc.
Do I sound too low now, or do I sound?
No,
good?
you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
Don't keep tweaking it. You're perfect. Stay right there.
That's why I sounded tin canny, because Blab was recording through my actual computer microphone and not my mixer microphone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's bit.ly Blab updates, all caps. So I'll just yeah. No, I just posted the link there. It's just a Google Doc, and it just has those little tips and I don't have any Cam Twist tips on there.
That's one of the problems with Cam Twist that just happened.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop out and I'm going to go do a test Blab.
Yes, absolutely. Go in the tester. You'll see a tag that says test zone. They're not in alphabetical order, but it's there.
Okay. Daniel J. Lewis says I'm still too quiet, but
We'll see. We'll leave it open. See if we'll leave it open for Daniel here if he wants to jump on.
okay. Bye, guys.
He'll be able to test it. Okay.
Thanks for coming on.
You'll probably be back, and it's only going to take you 5 minutes to test.
Yeah.
Yep. So
That's a great document. That's a great document you put together.
Oh, thank you. And I try to update it. I didn't do the latest update. Here comes Daniel. Daniel, hey, I haven't been on camera with you on Blab.
Well, just since a few days ago, I think. Hey, guys.
Oh, that's right. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're old friends. How you doing?
Yeah, very well. So what was his name? Sorry, Second Course Media.
Right.
Say Sean.
Jamie.
Jamie.
Yeah. Jamie, well, he's probably gone now, so never mind. I shouldn't talk to him. But for anyone else, if you're running into that problem where the input volume is probably a bit too low, what you need to check is not only the output from whatever device you're connected to the computer. Oh, he's still here. Good.
You're getting choppy, Daniel.
Like if you're connected to a mixer.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
If you're, yeah, it's
sometimes Blab.
It's a Blab thing.
It is a Blab thing.
Bandwidth. Oh.
Uh-oh.
No. I know what it is. Bandwidth.
Oh yeah,
I was uploading the files.
I files earlier.
But not only check the output volume of whatever device is connected to your computer, like your mixer. If you're just plugging a microphone straight into your computer, there is no output volume to check. But also check the input volume on your computer in your system preferences or in your system settings, depending on what kind of PC you're using. The input volume could also be affecting what Blab is receiving. Some devices, USB devices, may not give you an input volume option, but most likely whatever way you're connected to your computer, you have that option to adjust the input volume. So you need to change what's going out from the mixer or whatever audio device, as well as what's coming in to the computer.
Hey, Daniel, do you have a link for where we can get those t-shirts?
Oh yeah.
They are not available anymore.
Steve Lee.
That's from last year?
No, this is this year, but we did a Teespring. This is for International Podcast Day, internationalpodcastday.com. If you go to, here, I'll post this link. It's on Teespring. I don't know if it's still linked from the site. It probably isn't, but there is an option that you can say, I still want one. And I think the way they do it with Teespring is you can still buy or request to buy one. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It says if just 36 more items are reserved, we can bring the design back. So if 36 more people or if 36 more shirts are requested,
I think we
then they'll
can
do
do
another
that.
run of
We
the
should all
printing.
campaign for that. If everybody tweets out,
I'll order one.
buy a shirt so we can get our order, because I'm going to order one as soon as we get off of here.
Yeah, Steve Lee is Steve Lee the one behind that, pushing that?
Yeah, him and his son, right?
Right.
Yeah, he's the head founder of International Podcast Day. I'm one of the other founders, along with Dave Jackson, Ray Ortega,
What's Steve's son's
several
name?
others.
Dave. Okay.
Dave.
All right.
Or Dave.
Great. Yep. Okay, he's back. He's got another question. I'll drop out for you, Jamie. I want him to get his audio straight. I don't want people thinking Blab sucks. I like Blab, and I think that they told me, and I was telling Bill this, and I think I got interrupted because somebody came in the room. They said from day one that they wanted to have podcasters here. They want to support podcasting, and they're very interested because they know that podcasters already have a platform. They're already used to being a broadcaster. And so they know that that's going to bring in an influx of more quality content, because some people just want to broadcast and they just want to get on there and they're laying across their bed and they just want to say hi to their friends and all that. But then other people are more inclined to take things up a notch, be more creative. They want all different kinds of use cases on this platform. People are doing cooking shows and, just a little bit of everything. Joe Comm did a gaming show where him and his son were playing the same game, and they were using Camp Twist or one of those programs. And it was just all kinds of creative things that can happen here on this platform. And like Bill is doing, just putting up podcasts, just getting on here, taking that file. If you want to edit it, go ahead. But for me, editing has always been the thing that holds me back. And I just want to sometimes just do an experiment, just say, let me just put it out there, see if anybody watches it.
Miss Eileen, before you leave, I just want to tell you what I started doing, and it really was well. I had a show, Timelines of Success, on Experiment. It's not great, but I just call it Timelines now, and I've kept it. But I want to see if I could start another show and maybe make new noteworthy. Which so what I did was I recorded some shows from podcasters. I put them up on YouTube, and I got their feedback, and we concluded that it's not going to work. You can't really do enough with just podcasters. You have to have more than podcasters listening to your show. So what I did from there is I just converted that into my other Timelines show. So what was nice though was instead of doing setting it up in Libsyn and doing all that work, I just put it right on YouTube and got great feedback from just YouTube. So that's a nice way to do it. So if you go
YouTube is highly searchable. So there's and there's a new wave of, I think, after Google Hangouts came out and people got a little bit more used to seeing the talking heads on YouTube. Whereas before, like maybe 4 years ago, a talking head video was the worst kind of video you could put up.
Well, all the big news stations do the talking head. So I think
but it's the news. So people were watching it because of the news, not so much because it was a talking head. Yeah. But then when Hangouts came out and people got used to it, and so not all, but I'll say a lot of the old Google Hangout hosts are seeing. And hi, Jim, I see you're in the audience. I know.
It's Jim, we stole your show. Dave Jackson's probably rolling over right now.
They're seeing that it's so much easier to get somebody to come in. Hangouts has that level of complexity that you don't have here with Blab. I think if the podcasters continue to be patient and work with the team, Furkan, he's the CTO, he's the main one that's in charge of what they're going to be working on. They said this week they were going to work on some controls for the videos. They're going to keep constantly innovating, but they still want to keep the platform simple for people to use. So lots of people want all different kinds of bells and whistles. They don't want to add all that. They want to make it stable and they want to make it usable. So, Daniel, I just want you to know that we cannot tell if you're looking at us or not because you got two cams going. 1 minute you're looking over here and it's like, is he listening to me?
24-inch monitor.
Okay, I just want to let you know. Okay, I'm going to hop out so that Jamie can get his question. I just want you to know, Jamie, I'm getting you free podcast consultation and I'll give you my address so that you can send the check. Okay.
And it wouldn't be free.
Hey, when are we going to get a politician on here? You know, can you imagine if we got one of the top-notch politicians on here just talking? I mean, not top-notch, but any of the people running for president.
You want to get Donald Trump on here?
Oh, can you imagine if Trump would come on here? What that would do to this thing, to a Blab?
Oh my God, yeah.
It would be overnight. It would be huge.
So,
Well, they're crazy not to be using it. I mean,
Yeah, you're low right now.
I'm low. Okay.
In my prior life, I ran for United States Congress, and I was the vice mayor of a city of 230,000 before 9/11, before the war broke out. And I was activated for the war. But I was deep into politics locally, local, state. And I'll tell you what, this social media, this platform could change politics. I just can't believe I think I'm going to have the Attorney General of the state of Nevada on this week on Monday night at 7 p.m. On 7 p.m. Monday night Pacific time. So we'll see. That may be the first Paul Axel's his name. He's the interesting background. You look up on Twitter to find out who his father is. In background, he's actually, it's interesting. Dementia and Laxel, one's his grandfather, one's his father. So anyway, enough of the politics. Go back to podcasting.
So I think I'm coming through a lot louder now, right?
You sound good.
You're still very quiet.
I went in and I changed my input settings a couple times.
Did you change it for the right input?
For my mixer input, yeah. And I mean, it's up all the way now. All the way.
Okay.
So,
how are you connecting your mixer to your computer? Is that the built-in USB on the mixer or a USB device?
It's a Mackie Pro FX12
okay.
Built-in USB. I never have this issue when I'm using Audacity or if I'm using Mixler, which I normally broadcast live through as Mixler. And so it's just with Blab, like I decided to start playing around with Blab just to see if I could use this for podcasting, and I've had all these audio issues once I've jumped on. But my other question, and Bill and I were talking about this the other day when he was on, when a friend and I were testing this out, is the ability to play intro and outro music. It doesn't seem like you have that capability here with Blab and with other people being able to hear it. And I figured, Daniel, if anyone would know how to do that, you probably would.
You mean like, oops, that's the wrong output.
Well, the easiest solution would be just to sing it. Sing it with maybe a little tambourine or something, and you're golden.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Like that?
Magic.
Well, here's what you have to know about Blab. An unfortunate thing that is the nature of the way that they are making Blab so easy is you can't set the output device for Blab, your output audio device. So it uses whatever your default system device is, which means if you want to play audio from your system, you have to play it from your system into your mixer, but as a separate output device from your regular system output. Otherwise, your mixer is also going to mix whatever sound effect you have, mix that together with the other Blab voices and send that back to Blab. And so what you would need is two audio output devices, maybe like an analog and a USB audio output from your mixer or something like that. And then for that sound effect, what you have to do is then, depending on the app you're using, maybe you have the option of switching the output. What app do you use for playing sound effects?
I basically just run my my iPad into my mixer for sound effects. And I have a sound.
Okay, it's your iPad. Well, then, since it's your iPad, you don't have to worry about it mixing with the Blab input volume or input audio. So with the soundboard, you just connect that to the mixer and ensure that the soundboard soundtrack audio is also going out to the main channel.
App on my iPad, and I run that audio from my my 1/8 inch into my quarter inches on channels 9 and 10 on my mixer, and Blab doesn't pick it up at all.
Which mixer did you say you have?
12.
And that's version 1?
Yes.
Right? Okay. And you are connected to your computer through the USB that's built into the ProFX. Okay, and you said channel 910 is what you have.
Now, if you monitor that mix, are you hearing the effects in the output?
Yeah, I do. Like if like when I record on a Mixler, I hear everything.
And
like if I were to play my iPad now, I would hear it, but you guys wouldn't.
It's going into your mixer, right?
Yeah.
And your mixer's a USB going out to your
computer. Yeah. So here I'm gonna play some theme music here. Now,
Daniel, wait, he's doing that. So if you just go, if I stuck this input into my mixer,
here's something.
It's working.
Are we
working? Hear that? You guys heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I recognize it too.
Yeah.
Really? Okay, that's great. Then
I mean, it has to. It's only logical that it would. I mean, why would 9 and 10 not?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mix. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, if you had a 4-channel mixer, like some of the higher end or the VLZ3 or VLZ4, sometimes you can be sending something to a sub output which doesn't go out via USB, but that's not your case. Your case, okay. Everything's working fine.
Well, that was my only other question, and so great. Thank you guys for your help. This is why I like Blab, because I've been podcasting for 3 years, and in the 3 weeks that I've been on Blab, I've connected with more podcasters than I had in the entire 3 years that I've been podcasting.
You know what's surprising is on podcasting too. We're all guys here. Podcasting supposedly is a lot of guys, but look how many people on Blab are women.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of women on Blab.
I mean, a lot of women on Blab, which surprises me. Why would they be on Blab but not be on podcasting?
I don't know.
And Robert, another thing you said, you gave a really good explanation of a podcast, the RSS feed. It's really digital media. There are so many people out there who are just clueless of what any of this is. I mean, I'm 58, so at my age, the older you get, the more clueless they are.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
I don't get
it's so funny because RSS stands for Real Simple Syndication. Yeah.
Right.
Rich
is that what it is?
summary,
well,
actually.
I don't, so
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, really simple syndication is what people say.
And I never understood that because
but it doesn't actually
was,
stand for that.
I found it in 2005 when I first started with Libsyn. It was much more cumbersome, managing the feed and all of that. And I always found it funny because it was the least, it was the furthest thing from simple. And now it's much simpler. And then especially, I don't know if any of you still use FeedBurner, but I started with that, and that's what I use. So I've been able to move the content around without losing my subscribers. But you're right, a lot of people have no clue what it is or how to manage it.
It really is simple. I'm just telling you, I would somehow get people to do that $5 account. Another thing I want to throw out to everyone listening out there, there's some people making a lot of money in podcasting. John Lee Dumas probably has moved faster and harder than anybody that I know out there, but there's a lot of others. But I don't see any of those folks making a lot of money who are on podcasting over here yet. You think they're going to come over to this side? The Blab?
I mean, it's possible. I just think it's more awareness. I think this is still, as quickly as we see it growing, I think it's still a pretty unknown platform.
I would agree with Robert on that because I've mentioned it to a couple other podcasters that I know, and only one of them knew what it was. So I think it's just too new for anyone to really be over on it yet.
It's very fringe. It's very specific to how the tool is designed to be used, and not everyone who has any kind of platform necessarily needs what Blab offers. Blab isn't only live streaming. It's really about engaged live streaming, more so than Periscope or YouTube Live or anything like that. Blab is taking a different approach and making it really about that interaction with people. And that's why, like our friend Dave Jackson with Ask the Podcast Coach, he is doing really well on Blab because that show is all about engaging, and Blab now makes that show more accessible for people. Instead of people dialing up, they can easily just click that.
Where is he today?
Button.
Anybody know?
Podcast Mid-Atlantic. He was the opening keynote speaker this morning. So big congratulations.
So while Dave's
Dave.
at Podcast Mid-Atlantic, we took over his show here. You know, I figured that one podcaster would just come up and advertise and, say, hey, where are you guys? I enjoy Saturday mornings. It's a little early for me, though. I'm in the West Coast, Reno, Nevada. John, are you in Arizona now?
I'm not there yet. You
Daniel.
called me John.
I said Daniel.
I don't make that much money.
No, I said
I thought you said John. Oh, same initials as John Lee Dumas.
Maybe it's
just different order. But no, I'm still in the greater Cincinnati area.
When are you going to be in Arizona?
Whenever we can sell this house. I've been very eager to get into my own space so I can really build the studio that I want, or at least the one that I can afford. It's not the studio you want. It's the one you deserve. Or maybe something like that. I don't know.
So you were the devil that came on my show the other night. I recognize that voice. He was all dressed. I said, do you have a good mic? We could do a podcast. Tell us a little bit about your history, your background, where you came from. So you're not in Arizona yet. Are you gonna buy? Have you bought down there yet? Or are you looking to rent?
No, we'll wait to buy until we actually get in the area. Because the thing is, the reason I've chosen Phoenix, for people probably wondering why Phoenix, because it's 4 to 5 hours from San Diego, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, places where I do a lot of speaking and networking in the podcasting and tech industry. And it would be great to be drivable from these events. For one, not to have to deal with airplane, save money in the travels. My wife would be able to go with me more often. And when I'd have to go alone someday when we have a family, then I would only be a 4 to 5 hour drive most of the time from home. So if there was an emergency, I could easily get back. And I still have some family out there, so it's not too far from being connected.
Next weekend is WordCamp Vegas. So, and then the weekend after that's WordCamp LA, which is UCLA. I got invited to both of those, everything paid because of podcasting.
Wow.
And I work for some digital guys. These guys who are high-end developers, website folks, asked me to help them with a podcast. So it's been I've really learned a lot about WordPress because of that relationship. But I'm saying that's an example. You could drive up from Arizona. It's only a 3 or 4 hour drive, I guess. A nice drive.
Yeah.
It's a good look.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd had my eyes on those conferences and I was thinking we'd be moved by now. And I was looking forward to going to those, but
you have family there
Bill,
too?
In the Arizona area. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you're, single or not single, but married, no kids, Las Vegas is a pretty good place to plan. It's pretty inexpensive. I'm in Reno, Nevada. I left California. I took the advantage. I went back to the military and finished up my active duty. And when I came back, I drug my wife out of California and ended up in Reno in the mountain. I live in the hills up above Reno. And it's a nice state to work out. The only problem here is we are kind of isolated. It takes 8 or 9 hours to get to LA, 8 or 9 hours to get to Las Vegas. It's 2 hours to Sacramento, 4.5 hours to Santa Clara. Santa Clara is a whole different world. That's the Silicon Valley.
Oh, yeah.
They're not like into podcasting. Yeah. It's really weird. San Diego is, though. And those areas.
That's because everyone's so happy because the weather's always so good.
Robert, where do you live?
I'm in New Jersey.
New Jersey?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Garden State. Where in New Jersey?
In Livingston.
Okay.
That's Essex County. So I'm about 15 miles from Manhattan, and sometimes it takes me 4 hours to get there.
Yeah. I demobbed out of Fort Dix a few times coming back from Afghanistan.
Okay.
I jump out, guys, because Eileen wants to go back in. But
yeah, I'm gonna jump too.
Hey, thanks, Robert. Now, Robert, you're with Libsyn. Work with Libsyn.
Yeah, I've got Wedding Podcast Network is hosted on Libsyn, and I've been with them right from the beginning. So I've paid them lots of money.
You know them all real well. It's it's such a simple platform. Daniel, who do you work with for your hosting?
I'm working with both
Yeah,
Blueberry and Libsyn, and also self-hosting because I'm on a virtual private server.
How's that? So you're doing all three. I like Todd too. I mean, I like all the companies.
Yeah. Oh, and I do also use Spreaker because you have to use Spreaker in order to be on iHeartRadio. And and I now have a promo code if you ever want to save money on Spreaker.
Do you have any lessons on Spreaker?
No, I haven't made any yet. But Spreaker I get more downloads from Spreaker and iHeartRadio than I do from SoundCloud. I have a system that's automatically cross-posting my podcasts from all of my network over to SoundCloud. That system will break at the end of this month, so don't even bother looking up my tutorial video on it because it uses Yahoo Pipes, and Yahoo Pipes is going away. But my episodes over there on SoundCloud get 2, 3 downloads. No zeros behind that, by the way. And Spreaker is getting hundreds or dozens, depending on the show. So it's much better for me to be on Spreaker and iHeartRadio.
So how do you get to Spreaker
SoundCloud.
then? What's the easiest way?
Spreaker, you now have to pay to host your media with them. But what's easy, Spreaker does this really well and does this really easily. And this is the way it is now. And this will probably change in the future. But you have to sign up for a hosting account with them. Use the promo code Noodle and you get, I think, your first month free.
Noodle, nice and simple.
That's what it is.
I like that.
But then you give them your RSS feed. You enter your RSS feed. So you say import RSS feed is one of the options over there. And then they'll automatically pull over your files and republish the episodes then in your Spreaker feed. And a cool thing you can do with Spreaker that you can't do with any of the other media hosts, the popular ones, Libsyn and Blueberry, is you can sign up for one account on Spreaker and host as many shows as you want, and it's all pulling from the same amount of storage. And you can still create separate RSS feeds over there if you want. Spreaker is really becoming a good additional option for media hosting.
There's a question. Somebody just wants to know which VPS you're using. Sean wants to know. And I think it's a secret. Can you tell by that look in his eyes?
I'll tell you, but it's not necessarily what I recommend. Vultr is what I recommend. Vultr is essentially the same as like DigitalOcean or Linode, but it is entirely self-managed. That's why I don't recommend it. I'm actually getting in there like a hacker, and I feel really cool doing it, though, typing commands on my computer. But it's all terminal-based SSH stuff in the back end. It's all self-managed, installing my own Linux updates. So I don't recommend that unless you really want to.
And then also Eric said he's using RAM Node.
Yeah, very similar to them.
But I actually popped back in because I wanted to give a plug for the women podcasters. Mm-hmm. Okay, guys, don't think that women, there was a comment over in the chat, and I'm sorry, I forget his name, but I think from Podcast Movement, and I didn't go, but I listened to all the podcasts, and a lot of people who went were surprised at the number of women that were at Podcast Movement. I'm also a member of the She Podcast group over on Facebook, and there's like 2,000 people there. I think that maybe a lot of guys probably don't subscribe to some of the podcasts of the women podcasters, but there is a ton of us, and we are a force to be reckoned with. And yes, my show is going to come back one day soon.
Well, my wife was my co-host for all the years we were producing content, and our listener base was mostly women. So we had a unique demographic in the podcast world. That was for sure. For sure. Okay, thanks, guys. Have a great.
Thanks, Robert, for coming in. It's been really good. Yeah.
Hope we run into you again.
I'll probably keep this up another 30 minutes, and then we'll shut it down. What time is it here? It's 9:46. You know the bad thing about Blab is I'm not editing my shows. Okay. I'm not working on my website.
I could probably have my podcast up tomorrow if I didn't do any editing, because I have like 26 replays here on Blab, and they're all good.
Bill, you mean that Blab is keeping you from your other tasks?
No, I mean that editing is what's keeping me from publishing a podcast, period. I don't have time. I have a full-time job. So, and I'm doing YouTube and I'm doing blogging, and I don't have time to edit, and it's not my favorite thing either. And I haven't invested in or even looked for outsourcing of that.
Oh, it's too expensive to outsource.
I mean, it depends.
I mean, if you're a business and making money, I guess you could outsource.
That's true. And I don't have a sponsor for my show right now.
JV Crum the third, he's got a pretty good podcast. He interviewed me. I interviewed him. He's doing pretty darn well. He's been new noteworthy. Mm-hmm. He's like the upcoming older John Lee Dumas, I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But he's doing pretty well. But he outsources almost everything.
And Sean's trying to give me some encouragement. Thank you, Sean. I really have thought about just uploading them. I mean, it's better than not. Put it this way. I have a zero audience right now because I'm not putting anything up there, right? So if I have a Blab and I have, like right now, there's 14 people here. Okay. Typically when I Blab, I think if I look at my stats, I would say, let's say the average is about 30 people. So if I have 30 people listening to the podcast, what's wrong with that? It's better than the 0 people that I have listening to it now, right?
Yep.
So hey, I may do it.
You know what I'd like to do, if you guys don't mind? It's 9:48 right now. I'd like to do at 11:30 Pacific time. This is Pacific time. Excuse me, at 10:30 Pacific time. I have a show called Politics of Success, and I need to get it like a simple episode up. I only have 8 there. It's like my first ever, but I want to get the podcasters online and record them to explain to politicians how they might use this platform, and just throw a real simple episode up. And then I'm going to try to get it out to all the top politicians around. I can get it out to the state of Nevada folks and get it a little into California. But I'd love to, we'll talk about that. The thing is getting the podcasters back in to create that show. That's the thing. I think it could have some effects. A couple of things to think about. Remember when I talked about earlier, where's like Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, and some of these other folks? When are they going to hit this platform?
Well, I will say that there's been a lot of big, when you talk about bloggers and marketers here, and originally one of the biggest blabs was from some podcasters. I think it was John Loomer, and there was Tyler J. Anderson there, and I think Joel Comm, I'm not sure. But anyway, they had the record at the time. And then last week or a week before last, Mashable featured Blab on Snapchat, and there was a Brazilian audience, some guy who had 600 people in the room, and I think that's still the record holder. But Sean, who's the VP here, said, I can't tell you what it was about because it was all, in
how did you get on with Sean?
He just has to happen to be here around. They're probably, it's a weekend and they probably are, getting some rest, spending some time with family. So maybe later on this afternoon, those guys will pop in. They always pop in and out when they're around. So I'm going to assume, since I haven't seen anybody from Team Blab this morning, that they are getting rest.
So you just put in Team Blab?
Well, actually, they don't use Team Blab anymore. They use Blab. They got their Twitter handle changed.
Okay.
Hey, Michelle. Hey, yeah, Leo Laporte was here in the early days. Leo Laporte was here and featured it as the app of the week or whatever. I don't watch Leo's show, but you guys may. But he was one of the earlier podcasters who was on here. So we did a thing one night where we were trying to get Gary V to come on, but he didn't come on. But that's okay.
Michael Hyatt was only this last week exposed to Blab for the first time, and he said he was blown away. It was Joel Comm got him on, and Michael really liked what he saw of Blab, so he might be moving. I don't know. He's got such an audience now on Periscope, and he's finally doing horizontal video now that Periscope supports it. But he might be doing some stuff with Blab. What I've been doing recently is some little experiments. Like Thursday night, Podcasters Society was closing its registration to new members Thursday night. So throughout the day, I did a few Blabs and Periscopes, but I did them simultaneously. So I had my iPhone set to Periscope, and it was right next to my web camera. So I would use my webcam on my computer for Blab, and then I'd use my iPhone for Periscope and plug my mixer to my iPhone, so it was still good quality audio. And I would just do both simultaneously, respond to questions or comments from both. And I was getting more, at least for those experiments, I was getting more engagement on Periscope and more people watching on Periscope than on Blab. But there are a lot of factors that go into something like that. It's totally unscientific testing so far, but just an interesting observation at this point.
Yeah. Craig, oh my gosh. Craig did a guest post on my blog, maybe three years ago.
Yeah.
And then he disappeared. So how have you been, Craig?
It's been hell. It's been life. That's okay, though. I'm kind of curious what you guys think about, podcasting is very audio. Now it needs to be video and audio. What do you guys just do? You guys just kind of use the cams you got now and just kind of go with that, or what?
I just did a video showing some of the gear that I use, and I'm using a Logitech C920. But I think that if people have Mac, they can use their FaceTime camera if that's what they have, and I think that'll be fine. But the mic, I think you definitely have to have an external mic. But that's really with anything. If you're doing a YouTube video or whatever. So
here's the thing with your camera: the most important thing to your video quality. Well, most important thing at all when you're producing multimedia is your audio quality, but it sounds like you've got that. But your most important aspect to video is lighting. You're seeing me now through a webcam, and the camera isn't having to work very hard because I have lights on right now, a lighting kit. Let me show you. I love this thing. I just got this recently from Amazon. It's not Wi-Fi, but it is wireless.
Yay!
So watch this. I'll turn off my studio lights and turn on only my room lights.
Okay.
Now this is what it would look like if I was using only my room lights. It's okay, but the camera is having to work harder in order to expose it properly. So it's a lot noisier. It looks just cheap. I'm getting the blue light off my monitor slightly to my right. I'm getting the orange light off my two lamps that are over there to my left. But then when I turn on my lighting kit and let my software readjust me, now it looks a lot better because there's a lot more light on me. So even a cheap webcam, like here, I'll switch over to...
What are you using for, are you using SLR, SLDR, whatever it is?
The camera?
Yeah.
Logitech C920.
I'm using a 930, by the way.
Okay.
So it's about the same.
Same mic.
Here, now I switched over to FaceTime mic, or the camera on my laptop. And now you can see same thing here because the camera isn't having to work very hard. Now I don't have this at an ideal angle, but now you can see though the video quality looks much better this way than this way. This is what you typically see, but with a lighting kit, I just love turning the lights on and
so
off.
Your FaceTime video is very good.
Daniel's playing with his remote.
Can you dim it too?
We have John, who just came into the audience. He's also a video guy who knows a fair bit about lighting. So John, did you want to jump in? I can jump out because you probably can offer more. I'm just like, okay, I got a light and I'm happy with that. I don't have the fancy remote, but I can turn it up and down.
So I'm playing around with.
But I need it in my hand.
Daniel, what type of? Do you have any plugins for your software? For example, I've got webcam. I think it's webcam setting. It's a $10 plugin.
Yeah, webcam settings. That's what I'm using on Mac. Logitech does now have free software for Mac that does most of what webcam settings does. And to explain this, webcam settings allows you to control all the settings on your webcam. Profound name. And so that lets me control things like my white balance, my exposure, my the zoom, some of that stuff.
I have a video about that, but you know what? You get more controls on the FaceTime camera than you do on the Logitech with the webcam settings app.
You do. I'm playing with it right now. I'm on my FaceTime camera right now.
I just recorded a video and I went in there and I said, let me make sure I have everything set properly. And that's another thing, a real quick tip. Before you come on Blab, if you're using any of that stuff, the Logitech or the webcam settings, you got to set it before you get on Blab.
Miss Eileen, what is gamma? I'm doing it right now. I'm setting it. I'm going back and forth because I'm using that twist. Cam twist?
Well, it's different when you're using cam twist.
But what's the gamma at the bottom? I'm using it right now.
I don't mess with that.
I've never
gamma is basically kind of like exposure, but it's after the exposure has been taken. Gamma is, in a way, adjusting the level of whiteness or blackness. That's one way to describe it. And I know photographers or video experts can explain it a lot better.
Layman's terms. That's okay.
I think I'm going to say this is my webcam.
So wait, hang on. Let's make sure we know what software you guys are using. Bill, you're using Cam Twist.
I'm using for my camera. I'm using the webcam settings, and then I'm using Cam Twist as the. Right. I guess it's called technically it's running it through the computer instead.
Third-party app,
and Daniel must be using something similar. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm using Cam Twist.
Cam Twist. Yeah,
I'm having a little problem with when I flip flop between cameras. Sometimes I'm getting that reset that's not working right. Here, I'm going to go back to my notes.
Cam Twist is for Mac, but just for those guys in the audience, if you're on PC, Manny Cam is one. Mm-hmm. And if you go to my Blab cheat sheet, there's a listly where my friend Jaron has all the third-party apps that work with Blab. XSplit is another one, but you got to test it, guys. Don't just start up a Blab and think, oh, this is going to be fine, because
yes, do a test Blab before you do the real Blab.
Go into the test zone. Yeah.
Although there's a user voice channel which allows you to vote on suggestions or suggest features, and there is one that's suggesting a green room or some type of test area where you can ensure you have the right settings, switch things around before you start your real Blab.
So with you, I don't think that's going to happen. Just to let you know, because it's almost like having a private area. So you're going to have to do your test in public. So you might as well just go in the test zone. Because if Blab says, okay, here, this is your area where you can set everything up, people are going to go in there and do some private conversation before they go on. And that's not what Blab wants to do. So
it can be
that's just my opinion. Person. It's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
Hey, quick question. I'm going back and forth. I see that when I go to my
no, I'm trying
that. No. That's my Logitech. When I go back and forth, I'll go back to my built-in.
No, you hurt my eyes.
Which version of Cam Twist are you using?
I think it's the latest one. How can I find out here?
I was getting dizzy.
I'm on Cam Twist right now, so if I get a help, it doesn't really say which version that is. I don't think.
It should
read something. I think
it's Cam Twist menu and then about Cam Twist, and 3.0 beta is the latest.
You need more white.
I'm at 3.0.
Saying black and white. Aussie is black.
I'm going to try to get back to this Logitech camera, but I think I'm going to have to refresh. See, when I do this, let's see. So on Cam Twist, I'm on the HD, the built-in camera. I'm going to go back to this, and you'll see it's trying to come back. Oh, there it goes. See, it does it sometimes. It doesn't. I just need to set the right setting here. And it brings it
you're a little too close, Craig. You back it up.
Craig is that I'm looking for that devil join me in my program. You know what I was doing? I did this week. I went on every night at 8:30 and I looked for people to be on my podcast. And I found, I'll tell you what, I hit a home run on a lot of people, but one of them in particular is Paul Wright. He is well known in the music industry. He had good equipment. He was just amazed with this platform. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't podcast, and he came on and jumped right in and set up a show and showed up the next day. I have a really nice show.
Bill, I'm going to jump out, guys.
Eileen, it was nice to see you. Thank you.
Great to see you guys. All right, bye bye.
Well, I don't know. I don't really understand.
Click twice now in order to leave.
That's good because initially everyone was like pulling themselves out. So Scott, you've got Cam Twist up right now?
No, I'm just using my Logitech C920, but software. I don't use any of the Manycam stuff or nothing like that. If I use anything, I use OBS, but that's not for live broadcasting stuff. The thing I don't understand about Blab is you guys, you'll make a Blab, you'll run it for a while, but then do they allow you to download the archive?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
MP4 and MP3. Also, Daniel, I don't know if you've seen it, but the other day I was just stumbling around and they had a link to upload it directly to YouTube.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Blab is offering that, you're saying?
Yeah, it was on Blab. I don't know where I found it. It was just like on the Blab thing all of a sudden. What I've been doing is dragging it into MP4 and then pushing it up into YouTube. I'll push this up into YouTube immediately today. So it'll be in Podcasters Home in first position.
Okay. So that must be maybe in your profile that you were looking at that on your replays page?
It must. I think it was. You're right. It's on my profile. So I can go to my profile right now and look, can't I?
What they do, Scott, do you go by Scott or Craig? I heard Eileen call you Craig.
I have both.
Scott. What you do, Scott, is when you record a Blab, when you're the host, you get an email from Blab afterward that gives you download links for the video file in MP4 that's in standard definition. as well as an MP3, which is a 320 kilobit per second MP3, very high quality MP3, very low compression on that. But if you go to your Blab profile and then look at your replays, I don't see the option to upload to YouTube. So maybe that's something, some kind of beta you have there, Bill.
Say again? No, I did. I definitely hit it.
Oh, I see it now. Yeah. Yeah. If you click on the video, so it takes you back to the Blab replay page with the chat room and everything, then where there's a button, I can just show you this. There's a button on the video that says watch replay or upload to YouTube. That's nice.
Yeah, that's what I did. I'm not. I got to make sure it's uploading at the right place. I just did it yesterday. So, but instead of having to download the MP4, but it's nice to have that captured on YouTube. But now you're not going to lose it. You definitely have your MP4. That's a good point. Hey, I just got an idea. If you don't mind, I can just take this MP4 and I can cut this section. But I'd like to do about a 5-minute show for Politics of Success, Daniel. If you're in with it, and Scott, you can stay on. I'd like to just somehow approach politicians, how they might use this platform. And right now we've got the presidential elections going on. I don't think anybody's done that. I'll just cut this up. I'll put it on YouTube, and I will flip it on Politics of Success and get out to some consultants around the country. You want to stay on, Daniel? And let other folks
jump in. Is it going to be
in.
Audio or video?
It's going to be both audio and video. So what I'm going to do, it'll be up on YouTube as well as politicsofsuccess.com. Rob Welch was the last person to be on there. Rob cut his teeth heavy duty in 2004 and 2005 with political campaigns. I think this thing is tremendously powerful. The question is, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And like I said, Laxel, I stream for a group here in Northern Nevada at the Atlantis Casino Hotel, usually on Google Plus Hangout, their dinners and luncheons. Paul Laxel, who is the Attorney General of the state of Nevada, is going to speak Monday night at 7:00. I'm going to stream it instead of using YouTube. I'm going to stream it on this platform. It may not be as good, and I'm always scared doing that because something might fail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick show. We've got a bunch of podcasters out there. I'd like the podcasters to jump in, and we'll do it about 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and we just pulled up. Let's see. We'll wait till these guys come up. So how do you say it? Who's this? Com dudes. Nice T-shirt. Okay, your sound's a little off. Are you there?
I have a feeling he might not know he clicked join on us.
Okay, I'm going to shut him down. I'm going to shut you down because what I want to do. Go ahead.
Excuse me, I don't speak English.
Hey, okay, where are you calling from?
Okay, I don't speak English. Bye.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hey, I'm going to turn you off because we're going to do a quick show. And the people I recognize I'll bring on for the, there he goes. I'm going to lock this for a second, then I'll bring it back up. So Daniel, I'm going to have you and we're going to be talking to politicians. I'm going to be sending this out to consultants in the political industry. I'm going to send it out as far as I can. I'd love to have some of my other friends up there tune in and shoot this out. I think in this election cycle, you're going to see politicians use this. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. If I were the politician, if I was running for president right now, or, maybe I should run for United States Senate in Nevada. If I had a little more money, I'd probably do that. I ran for Congress. I was nominated, lost to Gary Condit in the 90s, 96. Gary Condit later was thrown out of Congress. I guess I was too straightforward to beat Gary Condit. And my credentials were too good. I didn't have any side affairs or
they don't want people that are too moral in office or too qualified.
Unbelievable. Let me talk before we go on to politics. This is my bent. I ran for office in the 90s, And now I'm going to put this on. I'm going to talk. I'm going to do my little, I never did a 0-0 program. I'm going to talk a little bit and you guys can hear. Daniel, I want you to come in and we'll see some ideas. Make about 5 to 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes. I'm going to be just cutting this out. So here we go. I'm going to take a minute of silence. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Welcome to Politics of Success, episode 10. Hopefully it's 10. I don't look at the show very often. I post it from time to time. But if not, it's the next episode after Rob Welch's episode. Today I have Daniel Lewis on with me. We're on Blab, Blabim, and this is pointed directly at the politicians who are running for office in this cycle and the consultants. So Daniel, you're pretty a master podcaster. You're over at the Noodle Network. I'm sure you could help any politician who needs help. I can help you a little bit in the political side, but what do you think of this new Blab platform, and how could a politician use this platform to get out their message?
The neat thing about Blab is that it's live, real-time conversation, and it has a very low barrier to entry. It works on mobile devices through an app or even through responsive web design. So it works on mobile devices as well as desktop computers. And all people need in order to participate in the chat on a Blab is a Twitter account. You can live stream yourself or yourself with others, but people can watch it even without Twitter at all. They can simply watch, but if they want to chat, they need a Twitter account. But a lot of people have Twitter, and this can be really a great way to, in real time, engage with people, answer questions, talk about issues, and be a lot more approachable than you could potentially be in an auditorium full of people who have questions and issues they want you to address.
Right. Now, one of the negatives I see is you got an open seat here. So how would you control those people asking questions?
That can be very difficult because in politics, you're running into controversy just being in any political arena. So either you could cue the questions through writing, or what you could do is, like with Blab, there's this really neat feature that if you do, is it /Q, I believe, or /Q, one of those,
right.
It marks your comment in the chat room as a question. So you could have someone on your staff who's watching that for you and then picks, okay, this person is a good question. Right. And then they say, so-and-so, click on that join seat to ask your question. And the only person then that you allow to actually join, because other people will probably click join seat, but the only person who you actually let join is that person. And then you do have to trust that they're going to ask the question they said they wanted to ask, and they're not going to do a bait and switch. There's always that issue of trust between people. That happens on the radio all the time. So I think political candidates are probably a little bit familiar with how to field that.
So here's what I would do. You could have 2 or 3 people who you know up with you and just take questions via, and then have someone feeding in those questions and just out of the chat room. But if a politician's running, they should come up. I would say if you're running for city council, state, or national party, you could have a time each week that you come up and answer questions and just be there. I guarantee you're going to get more name recognition. Now, that said, I've got some theories on campaigning. Every cycle is different. And for example, this cycle, the people, both the Democrats and the Republicans, are really fed up with the oligarchy of Washington and their state politics. That's basically all the special interests who are controlling the politicians. So the outsiders right now, like Bernie Sanders on the Democrat side and Donald Trump on the Republican side, they are outsiders, really. They are not the blessed ones from the oligarchy of the national parties, state parties. So you're seeing a real move towards this type of environment. This platform may be a way for more and more people to get out their message without the high cost of political mail, consultants, things of that nature. And in fact, I have a whole system that I need to write on because I've run so many times from office, one about half the time. But actually, I had my best elections when I spent less money and just did it through other means, direct mail. So again, I think this is a really good platform. We had Rob Welch on. Since you're one of those pros and you make your living with podcasting primarily and then video media, Daniel, with the Noodle Network.
Yeah, Noodle Mix Network.
How would another thing too? They can take this and turn this into a podcast. They can edit it.
Right. And then once you've got that audio or video file, you can redistribute that all over the place. You could upload that video file to YouTube. You could upload the video file to Facebook. You could take excerpts from it and share those as short Twitter videos or on Vine even. When you have the multimedia recorded, and Blab is one tool that can help you record that, then you can share it all over the place and distribute it in all kinds of ways. If it's in audio, of course, you could put it on SoundCloud as a podcast that people can subscribe to. You could share it on Clamor, which is 18-second audio snippets, or there are other platforms like that that allow you to share little snippets. Email it to people even to say, here, click this link to hear a one-minute answer to this question, embed it on a web page. There are a lot of ways that you can do that, that for many people could make it more interesting and accessible than merely reading a press release or a letter.
Right, and answering questions. It's like a fire talk. I was going to say, all a politician really needs is a laptop and one of these, ATR 2100, plugging in, and a little bit of practice. So here's my challenge to any politician out there, and I'm sure they could come on with you too. Come on over to a podcaster's home or contact me, and I'll have you up on one of these blabs, period. And we'll set a time. And I think it'll grow. I'll challenge you, presidential candidates to your state and local candidates, to come on up and test it out, and we'll see what happens. But I'm sure in this cycle, you're going to see people using this media. I haven't really watched closely, and I've sort of hunted around, but I haven't seen one presidential podcast out there yet. Have you? Anybody else out there seen it? Any of the podcasts?
I don't really follow the political sphere that much, but one of the big news stories in podcasting in 2015 was when Barack Hussein Obama was on Mark Maron's podcast. And
that's right.
Even people who don't like him said interesting things about his being on a podcast. It was basically that, wow, he's a real guy. He's a human. He has thoughts on these certain things. It brought him back down to human level by having a conversation with some other guy out there that's not a major political candidate or a TV news broadcaster or something like that. And so speaking with your voice in a natural, unscripted way really demonstrates how human you are.
No, President Obama did a great job, whether you like him or don't like him. That he really touched me as a person. I understood him so much better, and it was such a good podcast. That's a really good example. Mark Maron. On the other side, not one, we had 17, maybe one less now. As far as I know, not one Republican has come on a podcast yet and done the same thing. You think if you were one of these starving guys who aren't on the top tier of the Republican, you'd be doing it left and right, trying to hit the social media.
Part of that could
be
not doing the nature of the shows that are out there right now. Like you look at the top comedy podcasts in iTunes or interview style podcasts in iTunes, and they are more on the liberal side. And so if a Republican candidate wanted to join them, they would most likely say, no, sorry, I'm not interested. I don't want to support that political party, something like that. There are, of course, other conservative or the opposite side popular podcasts, but maybe they just don't want to get into politics. So I think the field is certainly ripe for harvesting and leveraging this platform of multimedia, real-time conversations, podcasting, broadcasting with your voice through new media platforms.
That said, there is a podcast. Some of the radio shows, like Mark Levin is one of the radio shows. Who's a conservative radio show speaker who puts his radio show up on podcasting, and he has like 4 million downloads, and he's very popular. They say his numbers are growing very fast. So there are some like radio shows taking the content from radio and pushing it up. Hey, in closing up in this little session, we're going to go back to our normal discussion because we broke in and actually created a podcast in the middle of a blab, and it'll be a good demonstration of what we can do, and it'll be up on this show, and who knows who will get it out there. But I'm going to do a little bit of forecasting right now. In off election cycles, when there's low turnout, Republicans do pretty well. Traditional direct mail to high propensity voters does well because a lot of young folks don't come out and vote. But once you start voting, as you get older, you have a tendency to continue to vote. And in the low turnout elections, the older people, actually 50, 60, and 70, actually vote. And what they do is they use targeted direct mail to their registered household, so you know a little bit about them. But on the other cycle, on the presidential election cycles, when there's, when it touches people more, a lot of young people come out and vote. And Obama's campaign used social media in the last 2 cycles really well. This next cycle that we're heading into, I'm projecting at, no matter who, we don't know who the Republican and the Democrat nominees will be. It's probably not going to be Hillary Clinton. I actually come from the intelligence background side, and I know the process and how mail is handled, and there's just too many problems there. And she doesn't go directly in trouble. The people down below her who moved that email back and forth between the classified and unclassified will definitely get in trouble. So she's probably not going to be there, but someone in the Democrat Party is going to come up. I've been saying this for months. You can talk to Rob. I thought it was going to be something more like Obama, somebody a little bit younger and fresher than the vice president. But you're going to see someone come out of nowhere. And I think the social media platform is going to really drive traffic. And the politician who wins, I guarantee you, is going to master the social media on this next presidential cycle, whether it's the $10 donation, whether it's the quick tweet, whether it's the quick get-togethers in their communities, whether it's their volunteers getting together in their precincts. So that generally leans its way more towards Democrats. They've taken it up where Republicans are a little bit older and they just don't get it. So the Democrats will definitely have the advantage, I think, on this next cycle. It's going to be a crazy, crazy presidential cycle. It affects not only the election, only affects from president, affects the state and your local elections too, because the more voters you get, the more you see them come out. So that's my forecast. I wanted to put that out. In my background too, I'm going to do a 0-0 episode. You need to go back and listen to that to understand some of my background. So who in podcasting is actually focusing in on political podcasting, teaching, educating, training? Is anybody out there doing it? Because we're going into a heavy duty cycle. Would Rob know?
Are you talking about educating people on politics, or are you talking about educating the political people on podcasting?
No, I just don't know of any politicians using this platform.
Rob Walsh has been working with some politicians. Yeah, mostly it's the smaller, more regional or local politicians who are leveraging a platform like this, or this being podcasting or real-time conversations, Blab, Periscope, whatever. But I think that as these things gain more mainstream attention, that's when the politicians will jump in a bit more and recognize that I'm not only going to be reaching 7 people, but I'm going to be reaching thousands of people.
Well, Daniel, thank you for that information. We're not going to close up this Blab, but we're going to close up this podcast. We thank you for coming on. And anyone else want to jump in, come back on, and we're going to just have a normal show and talk any podcasting questions or information. It is 10:20 right now. I'd like to stay on until 10:30 Pacific time. That's another 10 minutes. And thanks for everybody coming up. Dave Jackson, thank you for opening it up this morning. I stole your show. That's funny. Not really. I just wanted to come up and I'd listen to Dave if he was up, of course, and Jim Collison. And Daniel, Saturday morning.
Yeah.
You know what I do on the weekends?
It's Saturday morning.
I usually get a lot of good editing done and all my shows lined up for the week. If I get my shows up, I enjoy doing that. So what I learned from you today too is how to get up, how to use, what did I learn? We talked about it. How to use, what was it? No, we got CamTwist, but
CamTwist?
Here, I got a couple notes. I wanted to ask you about Cloudflare. You ever use Cloudflare? Cloudflare?
Yes.
The free
I'm using it for several of my sites right now. And it does speed things up. The free platform of Cloudflare. And
Cloudflare
using
is
it
pretty
for
easy.
like several of the podcasts on my network.
It's an easy way to speed up your site.
It does speed things up. Yeah, that is. If you have a secure website, it may not be the best option on the free plan, that is. But otherwise, most other websites, yeah, it's kind of a super easy, fast
Daniel,
way to speed up your website.
This is the first time, but you've been a little bit, the bandwidth might be a little low. Are you uploading or downloading something? And are you hooked right into, yeah, that's the problem. I've got 2 girls who are 13 and 15.
Someone in my
It's always
house
scary when they start getting the Netflix and the different things going back and forth. you almost need in a professional podcasting studio your own direct feed. So it's so those folks out there, if they keep on watching this and watch the whole show, it'll be up on Podcaster's Home. Is there anyone else who wants to step in? I see a lot of good podcasters up here that who I recognize. And tell us about your show and what you've done with your show and how you're using Blab. I know there's a lot of good folks up there, and it's been a really good feed this morning. And we got to get Daniel out west. Hey, Daniel, do you have a realtor in Arizona? You just buy. How do you buy your house?
No, I won't be working with a realtor.
How do you look for a house? You just go. No, you go find somebody on like.
I say I want to buy your house,
or one of
and I give them money. Yeah, I'll use Zillow or use the MLS sites myself. The thing is, I'm a seller right now, and I've worked with a realtor. I did not like it. And the way the industry, I'm just really frustrated with the real estate industry in general. I shouldn't have to have a realtor to sell my house. I shouldn't have to pay 6% of my house to get rid of it. There's I want to actually make money when I sell my house.
There's a company called Redfin.
Even though the price is high.
Redfin, have you ever heard of them?
Come back.
Redfin started in the Silicon Valley. It's a startup. It started by programmers.
No, I haven't.
And 10 years ago, they tried to design a way. They were the very first people to map real estate online. And they wanted to set up an office. Everyone's on payroll where there's a nominal cost for people to get their home on the MLS. And he was funded. He had regular funding out of Silicon Valley. They're up in Seattle, and they're growing slowly but surely. But I looked at starting an office. We've had a construction company and a building and a real estate company in California. We have in Nevada. We're not in that. And I looked at trying to create an office where it looked like a new office here, where it looked like a Apple store, where you just had two iMacs as you come in, and then trying to figure out a way. Now, my wife doesn't support this, but a way to reduce the cost, because some people do need some help putting together the actual contract of sale. It depends on what state you're in. There are a lot of different unique elements. But once you get that contract put together, it's really pretty easy once it gets to escrow and title, because now escrow and title folks do the rest of the work. So I understand where you're coming from. I think there's a future. It's just taking a little bit of time. Most real estate is sold by relationship, listed properties, things of that nature. So, and there's a lot to it. If you don't know what you're doing, I mean, even you can get a bad agent, know what you're doing, and then get a bad property, but it's a major investment. But you're pretty well protected too by the lender. Using a reputable lender, they're going to check out the house, and they're not going to loan money unless the house has, a pretty good condition. But real estate's a scary thing, that's for sure. I still believe in ownership, but you have to make money too. You have to have an income and a consistent income. But
yeah, so when we get to Phoenix, I think one way that I can have more leverage in negotiating a house is if I don't have my own realtor and the seller has a realtor, then maybe their realtor would be willing to lower their percentage in order to get me as a buyer. Right. Or if I find someone who's for sale by owner,
that's a really interesting approach. I think you're 100% correct.
I won't be bringing a realtor
for a reduction of 3%. Usually it's 5 to 6%. And with Zillow, that's why it's changing completely. I wish my wife would let us just do a don't call it discount, but set up a discount network. Basically, the ability to put that house up in the MLS, because basically it's 2.5 to 3%. We're in Tahoe, Reno area, and the homes around Lake Tahoe are almost all over $1 million. There's some cities where Kings Beach, you go inland a little bit, you can buy a pretty nice place for 200, 300. But where are you going down in Arizona? There should be some great buys down there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I've got certain requirements too. Like I want to be able to either build a studio or an accessory building or something. We really can't know what we can do until we find the right area down there, and that will be really complicated. I might end up renting an office somewhere.
Yeah, but, no, I understand what you're saying. Building a little bit basically of room outside. You could build even a temporary one pretty easily with 2x4s on just blocks, run power out there and a little heater and call it a day. I mean, and make it in California, you can build 8 by 10 without a permit. It's pretty amazing. And now technically you can't put electricity in it, but that's not a bad idea. Just build a place outside the house where you're really focused and people won't come by and bother you. Plus have an outside entrance. Yeah.
Well, and the main thing for me is the noise. Being able to record without noise in the house.
Where are you calling from?
I'm
going to shut you down because of sound. Hey, what's your name? Take a line. Let me disconnect.
Yeah. We need to disconnect.
So I'm learning some of this too. Okay, is he under 13? That's the rules right there.
He's
so
under
13. They're not supposed to come up online.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically. Well, yeah. Generally, you're not supposed to be able to let people give personal information. I don't know all the rules, but the general guideline is online stuff, social networking is supposed to be 13 and over only. Like Facebook does say you must be 13 and over.
Generally, you should say
default,
you don't want anybody under
must
18
be 13 and over.
When you're doing this.
So, and he, yeah, and a thing to watch for, like with hosting Blab or any kind of live stream, you have to learn how to kind of read what's happening. And something that you might see is like what happened here just now and earlier too, is someone showed up as they just joined watching this Blab, and then they clicked the join button. So that tells you that they're not here to really talk. They're just playing around. They press the button. They don't know what they're doing.
It's too bad you can't see that picture. It's a good learning point here too. It's too bad you can't see that picture.
They're not joining the conversation yet.
Well, no, I just had a little check. No, I just had a check mark.
You couldn't?
So I can lock it.
When
I can
just
lock it down, and I can open it back up too. For example, when you come in, if someone would come in, we could test that out right now. It changes. I'm not sure. Okay, here we go. Thanks, Sean.
Their avatar showed.
Sean just came up, and his avatar does show, and I recognize him. Army vet. In fact, Sean, you were on the other day. I met. There he goes. Okay. Are you 18?
I think so. I'm a little over 18. Way over.
Army veteran.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It says Army veteran. So anyway, Sean, you got some nice equipment there, and you got a whiteboard.
Yeah, it's a whiteboard from an old office they were getting rid of, and I said, "Yeah, no, I think I could probably use that." And yeah.
So Daniel, Sean is a little bit overdriven, isn't he?
Yeah, a little bit too high. That
the only way to check your sound is to have someone else on and ask them how it sounds.
How is it better now?
Opposite direction.
Or do this. You have a good voice. Are you modulating it?
No, just through a mixer, and the EQ is maybe a couple levels here and there, but people have told me I've got DJ voice. Am I still low?
Sean is having a bandwidth problem.
Am I? Damn it.
No, now you're okay.
Huh.
That's the one thing about this Blab. Knock on wood, all my podcasts have come out really well. But I don't screw around when I'm doing the podcast. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Blab seems to not real-time adjust the bandwidth as well as something like Google Hangouts on Air does, or even Skype. What those platforms will do is they'll lower the audio quality when it detects bandwidth problems. Blab doesn't really seem to do that. It seems like Blab sets the audio or the video quality when you join, and then
my
if
biggest
there are problems,
fear is
it just stops your video.
Is my daughter's starting to download stuff. Sean, let's hear how you sound. Tell us.
Yeah, so my name's Sean, and I do.
So Sean is frozen.
Am I frozen? Come on.
No, now you're okay now. So now he's off. You know what?
No, I
think you did that. You just did a demonstration of what actually happened. Sean, you're still on. It says audio only.
Interesting.
And we can hear you well.
And I still see him. Here's the lesson. What you see may not be what everyone else sees. So sometimes, like if you're recording a live podcast in a context like this, just be patient and let it see if it solves itself. That way you don't end up with production conversation.
No, we're off the recording. But I'm going to still stick this up on YouTube. This little shot out on Podcasters Home, just because there's so much information. It says poor internet signal right now on my side, and it's red down below. I'm going to actually clap for Sean too. Sean, we can
okay.
still hear
well,
you.
yeah. I hope. Oh,
You're
good.
Really well.
Excellent. I turned down my gain a little bit and turned down the volume. I'm still trying to futz with the mixer to see if I think there's a couple things I need to tweak on my end, but
you sound 100% better now. Daniel, can you see him?
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, now I can see him. Now you're really good, and there's no bandwidth issues.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
I think I have everything closed on my end. I shouldn't be downloading anything. Well, I do have another browser open.
Tell us about yourself. You have a podcast?
I do gamingnbs.com. So it's a tabletop role-playing game podcast. So Dungeons and Dragons.
You have a website to drop the link in?
I should probably put that down there.
And you're a veteran too, an Army veteran.
Yep.
I know that.
I served quite a while ago when I was more around the 18 years old when you guys mentioned. But yeah, I served twice. I was in for a couple of years, got out for a year and a half, and then went back in. So I served about a total of 5.5 years active duty, mostly in Germany.
Were you recall
No,
back in?
so the time I was in, it was like around the first Desert Storm, and I was in a unit that was deactivating, and a lot of units in the town of Augsburg were deactivating at the same time. They just happened to be further along than we were. So they sent them instead of back to the U.S., they sent them to the desert. We stayed back and protected the military community. And then that kind of, the liberation of Kuwait, that was kind of done and over. And then years went by before things heated up again, and which is our current kind of situation. So I missed a lot of the combat. Well, opportunities isn't the word I'd use, but those situations.
Yeah, that was 91. That was Desert Storm.
Yeah, I was. Yep.
I was 9 years in, and I got out, started design build construction, got in local politics. Unfortunately, got elected, and eventually became vice mayor of a city, which it's just it's a hard thing to do. It's hard in your business. But then in 9/11, I had my design build construction. I was active at it that day as a
okay, sure.
So I had 4 tours over in Afghanistan.
Wow.
So yeah, I just finished up my active. But yeah, there's pros and cons in staying in the reserve.
Were you enlisted, Bill, or were you an officer?
No, I'm an officer. 9 years. I really, the military really took good care of me. If I had to do it again, I'd stay straight active duty. Infantry, special forces. I went to flight school as a captain, 160th. Got out and got in the Air National Guard. Flew helicopters for a while. My degree is in engineering, so I transferred in the Air Force Civil Engineers, so it would be more in line with what I was doing in the civilian world, which really helped. And then I ran for office for city council and unfortunately got elected. Not a whim, but I mean, I don't know what it was. It's competitive, I guess, that I did it. People asked me, and I'd lost a congressional race to Gary Condit, but it was pain. I really like this podcasting platform, though. I think it has a huge potential. Daniel, these top podcasters making a lot of money. I don't have anything against them on that, but you know how hard it is for folks to make money. It's really not about podcasting. It's about, you really have to have a good show if you want to do podcasting, but it's about all the other things that they do. Creating digital products, which creating digital products is some work. You have to understand how to do that. I'd say if you want to try to make a living online, just reverse what they say. I would say learn how to make some digital products first, learn how to understand your affiliate account, your website, and all those things, then work on your podcast. Because podcasting can take a lot of time, as you know. And if you don't have a good platform to build on.
Although what podcasting helps you do is to build up that trust and the influence, because the people who are making money have one thing. It's not authority, it's influence. There are people who don't have much authority, but do have influence, and they're making money. There are people who have a lot of authority, but don't have influence. They're not making money. It's influence that makes you money. So you can build up influence in other ways other than a podcast, but a podcast is a great way. But the main thing is to know how, if you want to monetize, to know how you want to do that and strategize. So yeah, what you're saying, Bill, understand how to make a product, maybe start making a product. But in some ways, you might not be making the right product until you start your platform and you get to know your audience and know what their needs are. Like with me, I recently launched Podcaster Society. If I launched that when I first started podcasting, well, there's no way I would have launched it when I first started podcasting because I had no voice. in the community. I had no influence back then. No one cared who I was. But now, today, years later, I could launch it because it was the right time. I knew and understood the needs of my audience a lot.
So if we, I want
better
to look at three things.
4
Well,
years
this is a
into
great
it than I
topic to
did when
finish
I
up
first
on.
started.
If we look at three people, we'll look at you, John Lee Dumas, and Pat Flynn. I'm looking at the Pat Flynn model as possibly your best chances of being successful. I believe Pat Flynn started with an ebook or some basic training and courses for architects, and he got into podcasting later on.
Right. His podcast is successful in large part because of his leverage that he already had. And he has a lot of business savvy. So he knows how to create a product at the beginning, leverage what tools he has in order to launch something and make it successful. So he has that influence, and he can influence his multiple platforms in order to launch something. And he is really experimenting with a lot of stuff. His whole approach is passive income. And so that does mean a lot of work up front so that you can,
I have not looked at his
podcast, sit
revenue,
back and reap the benefits later.
I haven't looked at it lately, but that said, I know he's got some products too. For example, he's got a plugin, a reader. He's got digital products. He started money on his digital products. His passive income. When I think of passive income, I'm thinking affiliate income too. I guess. What's the definition of passive income? That's a good place to start.
Yeah. Technically, passive income means something more like real estate property that you're earning money from. But what we mean generally today when we understand passive income is it's money that you no longer have to work for or at work as much. You're not trading dollars for hours. If I work 5 hours, I get this many dollars. But I've already worked 5 hours. Now I'm making dollars.
He's got a good name. It's called
5 hours
Smart Passive Income.
That's essentially
in marketing,
what passive
he's
income
telling
is.
people exactly what he does. And then when you listen to him, he'll talk about the why. The why is so you don't have to work that 8 to 5 job. I mean, that's the general theme. Now let's look at John Lee Dumas. Sean, you can jump in here too. It'd be interesting to see what you do and how you do it. John Lee Dumas, I'm not sure how John Lee Dumas did what he did. I know he's a hustler. He worked his tail off. He's got a great partner working with him. And Kate Erickson is a partner. I think she was working the backside of Infusionsoft quite a bit for him, which helps a lot. But how do you think John Lee Dumas did it in a nut roll? And I mean, was it timing? Was it just, how did he do it?
He leverage again. He was able to start something. He started out small though, and he was able to scale. So he invested a lot up front in order to learn techniques, to learn how to launch well, to learn how to grow. It takes money to make money. You have to invest in some things, and he did heavily invest. And he is a hustler. He works really hard at things, and doesn't stop working in a way. So when he's able to launch something, he has a platform of people who are interested in that. But there is this thing that is partially true online, and that is the people who are making the most money online are people who teach people how to make money online. That is very true, but they're not the only ones making a lot of money online. But certainly, yes, a lot of the people are in that case. But you look at programs, online startups, these people who have an idea that meets a need, they market that idea well. They've developed that idea well. That's what you'll see behind everything is there was some need, someone who met that need adequately.
Right. Hey, through our local WordPress meetup, I met a
people.
guy up the hill here, and I wish I'd met him a long time ago. He's from Silicon Valley. We have a lot of Silicon Valley transplants in Reno and up the hill when I'm saying like up towards Tahoe. Actually, he's not that far from me. He's just up the hill from where I am. But he, Silicon Valley guy, came over here because we're in a no tax state. We have Incline, which is on Lake Tahoe, no taxes. Then just down the hill, we have Reno. And I'm actually in the foothills between Incline and Reno. at those areas, and Truckee. Interesting guy. He sort of we discovered each other at this meetup. He lives in $1 million house, but he said three things. And he's an engineer programmer. He's a marketer now, but he's an engineer programmer too. He said three things. There's three things that people will do. He said, one is how to make money. That's whatever you're doing. They're always interested. Two is health. And three was social relationships, like anything in social relationships, getting along with people, like I guess coaching, counseling. So those are three basic things. But John Lee Dumas is an interesting study. I know I watched $60,000 initially. By the way, this guy, I don't want to go into too much detail. He makes very good money every year, and interesting background. I can't say too much about him, but he said he was concerned about John Lee Dumas' show, and he's looking at the different ones because there's a lot of rules you have to follow. And one of his businesses, they have to watch very closely about disclosing how much money they make, because one of his three corporations, one of them is an MLM. And this is a top-notch Berkeley engineer with an MA, and he made millions of dollars writing code and programs. But he said, he showed me, and he brought up the different regulations on when you disclose revenues. And I showed him John Lee Dumas, and he's got mixed feelings on the ability to disclose your revenues, because you have to put some disclosures like the average person will not make this much money and things of that nature. So you got to be very careful. That's a sales technique when you disclose how much you make when you're making a lot of money.
I think that's where Pat comes in, and in his show does really well in setting those expectations, because I think some people think that they can just start off and hit that really hard and it's not going to be a problem, and it'll be 30 days up and they'll be making six figures. And Pat does a really great job at probing at his guests to really get into the meat and potatoes, where it's not conceptual. It's what are you actually doing? What are you actually using? How are you using it? What is the cost of it? And then actually explaining, how long did it take you to get to that point? Oh, it took you a year, 2 years, but now it's really nice. Yep. And so it's really nice. And I appreciate Pat's. And I think that's part of Pat's charm too, and how he does that.
I think Pat Flynn seems to be everyone's favorite. I mean, I've never met anybody that doesn't like Pat Flynn.
He just seems like a likable guy, and I've never met him. So, and
I like John Lee Dumas too. I've met him once at MNX the first time, and we're both combat veterans, so I can relate to him. I know what he went through in Iraq. I don't know if you guys know it, but he lost 3 of his soldiers. So at a small tank platoon, that's a lot of folks to lose. So it's he's gone through a lot. Daniel, going back, looking at those 2 and those 3 models, what do you see as the best model for somebody who wants to make money online? Basically, it's more than just podcasting, but it's making money online, I guess, or having their own business. What model would you tell them?
Have something to sell, something that can scale well, or have some stair-step process in place where you're going to do this for a little while until it can no longer scale, and then you can leverage that in order to launch something else. Like, for example, consulting. That's something that I started with, and doing services for people, like designing podcast cover art or designing websites. I don't design for clients anymore. But that was I used to. Yeah, and that was a stair step for me to the next thing that scales even better, and the next thing. But try to look for those product ideas when you start out, something you can create. Maybe it's a $5 item, $5 video, a product, something like that you can create and sell yourself. Because the awesome thing is, if it's an automated process, like a digital product, or maybe you're having someone else handling the order fulfillment, you can sell 1 item, you make $5. You can sell 100 items and you make $500, but it doesn't take any extra effort. So you're going to have to know how to use a
word,
and then you can
web. You're going to have to understand how to use WordPress, or have some system to be able to sell that product. I mean, you can use a PayPal pretty easily, but it's really not automated, is it? It's not delivering.
Right. There are platforms or plugins out there, WordPress powered or otherwise, that can help you launch something like that. But also look for those opportunities that any product or service that you genuinely believe in and you think your audience would appreciate and that's relevant to your audience. Try to get affiliate links for those things. I'm now making, I don't have a massive audience for my podcast. It's very niche.
That's what's the one Rob Welch said, that won't work.
But so if I had a sponsor, I have had sponsors in the past for a couple episodes here and there, and I now only do it if I am absolutely convinced it works for a particular specific episode, specific content kind of thing. But I almost never do sponsors. But if I had a sponsor, traditional CPM, even John Lee Dumas levels or Twit levels of CPM for my podcast, I'd make a couple $100 per month or a few $100 per month. That's how big my audience is. But my Amazon.com affiliate sales is more than twice what I would make as having my podcast episodes sponsored, because it's the back catalog of my mentioning products that I genuinely use. I'm reviewing them, or I mention, hey, this is a helpful tool. I'm seeking to be helpful, but in seeking to be helpful, I'm also using affiliate links. And so that back catalog of all of these episodes where I'm recommending all of these things are earning passive income, and that's increasing over time because more and more people are finding that helpful content and then deciding to purchase the product that I mentioned. So don't get discouraged if you start out and you're only making 20 cents per month on your affiliate sales. When I first started in affiliate sales, I made, I think, 60 cents my first month. And then the next month, nothing. Next month, nothing. I think I didn't actually
I like
start
the advice you just
breaking
gave. I think
$10
that's
a
the
month
best advice
until a year
anyone's
later.
given. Start with basic products, go slow. Who does the Side Hustle show? I know I've interviewed him out of Livermore, California. He's got a good show. He's got a good way, and he does real well too. I know him. Gosh darn it, I have to Google it. Sorry about that. And we meet so many people in podcasting, you can't remember who they are. That's a good. You see any other models that are good, Sean? What are your plans? What are you trying to do now?
We do have a sponsor, but we don't charge a lot. The role playing game, tabletop, podcasting area, we've got quite a few. I think. I wouldn't say they're competitors. As a matter of fact, we actually have a segment on another show that some of our friends in that space actually pump our show quite a bit, and we do the same for them. But we have a sponsor who came to us and said, hey, would you guys mention me on your show? How much would it cost? And it's so if tabletop RPGs use dice, a lot of funky, weird looking dice. So he makes handmade dice bags. But he's not doing huge amounts of volume. He does screen printing on them. So we knew that if we wanted him to just like pay us monthly, or I did it more on a per episode, but charging him on a monthly basis, that we weren't going to charge him hundreds of dollars per show to do it. And he stuck with us, and we're over 50 episodes. We haven't pumped a lot of sponsorship options. We are probably going to cater to who it is, what they're doing. Now we have Patreon set up and have a couple levels that would be a sponsorship kind of level. So, we put it out there. It's very high, I think, considering our audience and our community. But if we can get it, then great. And if not, we're still going to do shows. So
Daniel, do you see anybody else out in the podcasting community that you look as a model towards how they're monetizing?
Oh yeah, plenty who are selling something, a product, a service, drop shipping. Maybe they've made their own product. Maybe they've partnered with someone else to promote a product, affiliate sales. That's the main thing that I see working well, is really everything. Leveraging every platform you can, multiple streams of income. And that's what I'm doing right now. Yes, I have my own products. I have my own services I offer for now. I have a membership site now. I have other podcasts that receive donations. I have affiliate sales. All of this stuff together is helping me to make money and pay my bills each month. And you look at these other people, the highly successful, and they've got multiple streams of income as well.
Right.
Really, the only person who has one stream of income is the person who isn't trying to make money from their podcast, but they're making money from their regular job. That's
Look at
one stream.
Yeah. Mark Maron's a good example. He has at least two streams.
Yeah.
He's got the sponsors, and then he's got his show. I mean, his show is very successful. His comedy show, he's what a great combination, that comedy show and his podcast. That's a good marriage right there. And that doesn't fit too much into those three things we talked about earlier, which was how to make money, relationships, and health.
And I think with our show, obviously it's a hobby for us. So that's kind of the difference. And for me, I would say I have a co-host partnership. And I think with me being the marketing, I've driven the show. Hey, let's do this show. We talk about it a lot. It's a passion we share. It's great. And we're doing fairly well, I think. But at the same time, we have a decent audience on Google+. There's a good gaming community there. So being in that space, and then we say, hey, guess what? You know us. We're going to launch a podcast. Tune in. So then we get some of those folks, so if I have 2,500 people on Google+ that follow me and I can get 10% or 1% to even subscribe to the podcast, great. And then have it mushroom through there. But in addition to that, what I want to get to is, so my co-host has an aspiration to get into the RPG tabletop publishing piece. So if he writes a supplement for the hobby or a particular game, he can use our platform to market it or do a Kickstarter for it and proliferate it. And then he may move into that space where it may go into what more Daniel was talking about. So then you start leveraging the podcast platform and the show to gain revenue through your, publishing venture, if that's something he would want to pursue. Right. And then we already have the audience, and then it snowballs and accumulates that way. Right.
It's and then the other thing too, Daniel, you just mentioned something that's completely different, the pricing of the product. You talked about starting just a $5 product, Udemy, something like that. I think that gets you going, but the people who are making the big dollars are charging quite a bit for their products.
Well, the awesome thing with that is just consider this. You have a $1 product. If you want to make $10,000, you have a $1 product, you need to sell 10,000 copies. You have a $10 product, you need to sell 1,000 copies. You have a $100 product, you need to sell 100 copies. You have a $1,000 product, you need to sell 10. So finding that ideal pricing will help you to profit more and have to sell to fewer people. And that sweet spot for that pricing is very difficult to find. Sometimes you have to test things or see what are others doing in the industry that seems to be working.
Yeah, that's very good. Hey, as we close up this morning, I just want to thank, this has been a long podcast. A long blab, I guess we call it, but it's going to be a YouTube. It'll be up on YouTube, Podcasters Home. Also, I'm going to cut that. We did a podcast this morning. Daniel and I, and did anybody come on? I don't think anybody came on with us, but we did a podcast for Politics of Success. And that's my $5 listen account that I put up whenever I feel like it. It's got 10 shows. It's evergreen. What you weren't talking about, the evergreen. We'll finish up in evergreen. This evergreen stuff is interesting. I was listening to a podcast that's 3 or 4 years old that, the name of it. It's, and they're out there, and it's Learn Out Loud. Learn Out Loud, the company. And that's a pretty good sized company, Learn Out Loud. And they have an evergreen podcast. I just picked up and started listening to it. It's not great, but it's not bad. They're basically reading old books that are out of copyright and on what people used to do 100 years ago to make money, some of the themes. So it was interesting. Well, I want to thank everybody this morning. Daniel, I really, really want to thank you. Sean, good to meet you. I've seen you on out there floating around on the world of Blab, and hopefully get some of the Blab.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And if any of you guys know any politicians that want to do an interview, one thing when I'm interviewing politicians or doing anything like that for these politicians, I don't want anything negative. I want it all positive. What's the good, not the bad, and keep it on the positive side, not the attack side. Now we talked about different podcasters today. Hopefully you didn't say anything negative, but there are some issues out there in podcasting, just like there are. I do some work for WordPress folks in the WordPress community. By the way, that WordPress community is pretty darn small. Daniel, have you been to a WordCamp?
Yes, I've spoken at a couple, attended a couple.
For podcasting, which ones?
Well, I've gone to WordCamp Columbus, or I think they call it WordCamp Ohio. No, WordCamp Columbus, WordCamp Dayton, WordCamp Lexington. I think there was one other. I can't remember.
Yeah, those are really unique little societies. what I found is this WordPress community is very small. It's very small. Well, thank you. What's the best way to close up these shows? I've seen different people do different things. Daniel, do you want to like log off and fall back or say hi? There's some tricks to it. What's the best way to close? I'll be the last one to go off. I'll lock down the seat.
Well, so, I'll just say this. Check out my podcast over at theaudacitytopodcast.com and consider joining the waiting list for Podcaster Society if you want to learn to take your podcast from average to amazing. I'm Daniel J. Lewis on Twitter at The Ramen Noodle. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for everything you do. Now we'll see how he signs off. Is he going to fall back? Okay, Sean, you and I are the last ones. So, and you got good sound now. You didn't see your studio. You have the PR40, right? You got a mixer.
Yep. Yeah, and I just purchased the 1202 VLZ4 Mackie.
Mackie, yeah, that's supposed to be the hot mic right now. You get that addiction to mics. And you got a business and a company. And I forgot, what part of the world are you coming from?
In Madison, Wisconsin, here in the Midwest.
Madison. Yeah. Nice town, Madison. I used to work out of Volk Field and flying.
Okay.
On operations. We go up there for operations, hide our aircraft.
Sure.
So, you know what I didn't do? We got to get your numbers up at least 1,000. See how long it takes to get 1,000. When we hit 1,000, I'm going to X you out and see what happens, and you'll have to get out too. Okay.
That's fair.
I need your help. There are a few people out there. Help me get them to 1,000. End up the show.
Oh, you guys are too kind.
We got to get how long will it take to get 1,000?
I don't know.
We got to talk where you're going to 1,000. Everybody click.
Yeah, right.
And 78 people. So you don't look that old. That's why it surprised me. You're in Desert Storm 1.
Oh yeah, I'm old enough. I'm over 40.
Yeah,
I'll say wow. That. I'm over 40 and proud.
I deployed. I backfilled the 173rd out of Vicenza, Italy, in Afghanistan at 50 years old. I was at S9. I'm in pretty good shape. In the hills and stuff. I replaced a guy who a lot of people just couldn't take the battle stress. If you ever look at the movie Restrepo, that was my unit.
Oh, no kidding.
I was there at that time with that unit. It was bloody. It was before the buildup and before anybody was paying attention to Afghanistan, and we were getting slaughtered.
That was before the reputation of the Korengal Valley, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah. But it was the whole area. Our area had 4 provinces. I had Tora Bora. I can't really go into detail on some of the bad things that happened, but it was rough. But I'm sure happy I did it. I wouldn't want to do it again. And I've got mixed feelings. That's really what I need to be doing right now. I need to be working in the Middle East with what I do. I work a little bit of as civil military operations. So I work refugee control.
Sure.
I've had temporary appointments with the State Department, and they've got this cadre of like part-time people. And if I could figure out how to make some money on this podcasting digital world, I might not have to go anymore. Well, we made 1,000.
All right.
I'm going to take you off and see what happens.
Okay. Fair enough. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Sean. Good meeting you.
All right, Bill. Likewise.
Okay. So, you know what? It gave me, I tried to hit your X, and it's saying the page says you're about to kick a person off. Never had that happen. Where you go?
You can kick me off. Go ahead.
It said you are sure you want to kick this person off. I never remember seeing that. Okay. Yeah. I'm kicking you off. Not
for
intentionally. That was really enjoyed meeting you. I'm sure I'll see you up again. Hey, go to Podcaster's Home, sign up, and let's do a podcast for timelines. Especially you being a veteran. I like to interview people of what have you done? How did you get to where you are today, and where do you want to go? And then I have this thing on what are your success principles. It's a nice little podcast. I found some neat people. So if you get a chance, go to podcastershome.com, check out the interview link.